The drums were beating loud, slow, and heavy. Olivia stood there, just 13 years old, in a borrowed green gown. Her eyes were swollen from crying all night. Her fingers trembled as she clutched a small, faded teddy bear, the only thing she had left from her childhood, and standing beside her was Chief Williams, an 80-year-old man with wrinkled skin and silver hair, dressed in a shining white agbada embroidered with gold. He smiled as the crowd in the compound clapped. Cameras clicked. Women ululated. Some whispered in shock, but no one stopped it. "Please," Olivia sobbed, turning to her parents. "Don't make me do this." Monica turned her face away, unable to meet her daughter's eyes. Jonathan adjusted his shirt collar, looking at the ground, pretending not to hear. Then Monica stepped forward and whispered coldly, "Olivia, this is your destiny. Chief Williams is your husband now. You'll thank us someday." And just like that, the officiant declared the marriage official. The 13-year-old was handed over, bride to a billionaire old enough to be her great-grandfather. As the Bentley doors opened, she took one last look at her small world, and it disappeared behind tinted glass. Earlier that week, in a crumbling apartment on the edge of Lagos, Monica stared at the ceiling, eyes wide open. She hadn't slept in 2 nights. The landlord had knocked again, this time threatening to throw them out if they didn't pay rent by Friday. Her husband, Jonathan, worked as a secretary in a tiny office downtown. His salary came late, and even when it was barely enough to buy food, let alone pay school fees. Monica taught at a low-grade primary school. They were trying. But trying wasn't enough. Olivia had been home from school for a week. No fees, no books. The girl spent her time drawing robots on the back of used paper and talking about her dreams of building software like her idol, Miss Adenikita, first female software engineer she read about in a magazine. "Mom, one day I'll create an app that will solve real problems," Olivia would say, full of light. But that light had started to fade. That morning, Monica's friend, Adana, came visiting. Dressed in flashy Ankara, chewing gum, she laughed as she dropped her handbag on the floor. "Monica, you won't believe what I heard. Chief Williams is looking for a new wife." Monica sat up. "Chief Williams? The billionaire?" "Yes, the one whose wife died 10 years ago. He's now saying he wants to marry a young woman. Can you imagine? The man is 80. Adana chuckled. "Instead of enjoying his money and grandchildren, he's looking for fresh blood." But Monica wasn't laughing. Her face grew stiff, her eyes lit with something dark. "Is he serious?" she asked. Adana blinked. "Wait, what are you thinking?" "If he's really serious," Monica said slowly, "I have someone for him." Adana sat up. "Who?" "My daughter, Olivia." Adana's eyes widened. "You can't be serious. She's just wasting away here. No school, no future. But if Chief Williams marries her, she'll live in Lekki. She'll be safe, fed, and we'll finally escape this poverty." "You're talking about your own daughter," Adana gasped. "Yes, my daughter. Who's going hungry with us? What future are we offering her here?" Within hours, Monica had borrowed a neighbor's phone, gathered Olivia's photos, and headed straight to Chief Williams' mansion in Lekki. The house was like a palace. Marbled floors, golden chandeliers, and a security gate that spoke louder than any words could. The old man sat in a luxurious armchair, sipping papaya juice, reading the papers. "Chief Williams," Monica said with a shaky voice, "I brought something precious." He looked up, and Monica held out Olivia's pictures. "This is my daughter. She's beautiful, well-behaved, and she's ready for marriage." The billionaire stared at the photos quietly. "How old is she?" "She looks 20, Monica said quickly. She's ready." There was a long pause. Then Chief Williams nodded. "Bring her, tomorrow morning. We'll do the marriage rites." Back at home, Jonathan was stunned when Monica told him the plan. "No," he said, pacing the room. "She's 13, Monica. 13! She's 13 and starving, Jonathan." Monica snapped. "Do you want to keep watching her suffer? Don't you want to help your daughter? She's a child, he shouted. And she looks grown. Chief Williams is rich. He will take care of her. Maybe she'll even come to love him. Or maybe she'll at least eat 3 times a day. Isn't that better than this? Jonathan sank into the worn-out couch and buried his face in his hands. The silence said everything. The next morning, Adana, still shaken, ran to the market and bought a green gown. Olivia was quiet, almost lifeless, as they dressed her up. Neighbors came. Some clapped. Others whispered behind wrappers. At exactly 9:00 a.m., the convoy of Chief Williams pulled into the compound. Olivia tried to run. She cried. She begged. But no one stopped it. The wedding was short, cold, transactional, and when it was done, Olivia was gone. Inside the Bentley, Olivia sat frozen. The man beside her looked calm, pleased. But she wasn't hearing anything. Her mind was screaming. My dreams, my life, gone. I'm not even old enough to vote, and now I'm a wife. She wiped a tear and looked out the window as her family disappeared behind her. Little did she know what was waiting in the mansion would change everything. The Bentley rolled through the tall iron gates and into the grand compound in Lekki. Olivia clutched her dress with trembling fingers, her face soaked in tears. Her body sat still, but her heart was racing. She expected the worst. She had heard stories of young girls forced into early marriages, beaten, or turned into baby factories. The idea of this 80-year-old man, her husband, touching her, sleeping beside her, made her stomach turn. But instead, the moment she stepped into the house, silence. No music, no chants, no crowds, just cool air and polished marble beneath her feet. A tall maid in white uniform stepped forward. She didn't smile, but her eyes were soft. "Madam Olivia, welcome," she said quietly. "Come, I'll show you your room." Madam Olivia? The title stung her ears. She followed the maid up a wide spiral staircase, lined with framed art and golden light fixtures. Her room was on the far end of the hallway, large, with pink curtains, a king-sized bed, a study table, and bookshelves. Everything smelled clean, expensive. Still, Olivia couldn't smile. She dropped on the bed and sobbed into the sheets. That night, no one knocked. Chief Williams didn't come. The next morning, Olivia woke up to breakfast already. Waiting tea, fried plantain, eggs, and papaya slices arranged neatly. She ate slowly, suspicious of everything. The maids didn't speak unless she asked a question. They cleaned her room, washed her clothes, and even braided her hair later that afternoon. But what bothered her most was Chief Williams. He didn't come, not once. On the 5th day, Olivia grew restless. She had barely seen the man since the ride from her house. He would pass her in the hallway sometimes, nod politely, and disappear into his study. What kind of marriage was this? Why hadn't he entered her room? Was he planning something? Waiting for the right time? She tiptoed to his study once and peeked through the glass. He sat behind a huge desk, reading and scribbling in a notepad. He didn't look like a monster. He didn't even look interested in her. And that confused her more. On the 7th day, the housemaid handed her a message. "Chief Williams wants to see you." In his study. Now, her heart dropped. She wiped her palms on her dress and walked slowly to the door. Every step felt heavier than the last. She knocked. "Come in," his voice called out. She entered, eyes fixed on the floor. She could barely breathe. "Sit down, Olivia," he said gently. She sat, legs crossed tightly, body stiff. He looked at her for a long time before speaking. Then, with a deep sigh, he began. "You're scared of me," he said. "I understand." Olivia didn't respond. He leaned back in his chair. "You don't belong here, not in this way, but I need you to listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you." Her eyes slowly met his. Something in his tone felt different, calmer. "I've helped a lot of young girls in the past, brilliant ones, abandoned by the system, forgotten by their own families. When your mother came here, I didn't see a girl ready for marriage. I saw a child, being sold off to escape poverty. Her eyes widened. I agreed to marry you, Olivia, not because I wanted a wife, but because it was the only way I could get your parents to let you go. I knew that if I said I wanted to sponsor your education, they wouldn't trust me. But marriage? That they understood. That they wanted. She blinked, speechless. I've bought your parents a new bungalow in Agage, he continued. I got your father a car. He's now doing airport taxi. They have what they wanted. Then, what about me? Olivia whispered. You'll go back to school. Tears rushed back to her eyes. I've already registered you at a private secondary school nearby. You'll start next week. You'll get everything you need, and when you're ready, I'll pay your way to any university you wander or abroad. You said you wanted to become a software engineer, right? Her mouth dropped open. How did you know? I read it on one of the papers you left in your bag, he smiled softly. The drawing of a robot with your name on it. She covered her mouth with her hand. You saw that? I did, and I believe in you. For a moment, silence filled the room again, and this time, it wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep, not from fear, but from hope. She stared at the ceiling, tears in her eyes again, but these ones were different. Maybe, just maybe, she was safe. Maybe the nightmare she feared wasn't real. And maybe her dream of becoming a software engineer hadn't died after all. But miles away, in the new bungalow her parents now owned, shame had started to creep in. Jonathan stood quietly outside, watching the stars. He hadn't spoken much since Olivia left. Monica, on the other hand, was busy taking selfies inside the living room, showing off their new furniture to neighbors. But every now and then, she would pause, look at Olivia's framed photo on the shelf, and something inside her would twist. 1 week later, Olivia stood in her new school uniform, clean shoes, fresh backpack, and eyes full of quiet determination. She didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change again. The bright yellow school gate loomed ahead. Olivia stood nervously, gripping her new backpack. The name stitched into it in white thread read, Olivia C. Williams. It felt strange, not because she disliked it, but because she didn't understand it. She was no longer the Olivia from Ajagunla who shared a small room with her parents. She was now living in a mansion, waking up to maids, drivers, and breakfast trays. She wore new shoes. She smelled of lavender body wash, but inside, she still felt broken. On her first day at Goldbridge High School, Olivia entered the classroom, and all eyes turned to her. The students were mostly children of politicians, business moguls, and top executives. They had iPhones in their bags and talked about vacationing in the UK. Olivia felt small. A boy in the second row whispered loudly, "She's that billionaire's wife. Child." Another girl giggled. "Ew, is she really his wife? That's creepy." Olivia sat down quietly and kept her eyes on her desk. She didn't speak all day. Back at the mansion, Chief Williams noticed her silence during dinner. "You're quiet," he said, pushing his soup aside. "Everything okay?" She nodded, lying. "Yes, sir." He leaned forward. "Olivia, if anyone hurts you or says anything wrong, you can tell me. I'll handle it." She looked up slowly. "They think I married you for your money." He sighed. "You didn't. Your parents did. And unfortunately, that lie will follow you for a while." "But it's not fair," she whispered. "I didn't ask for any of this." "No, you didn't," he agreed. "But it happened anyway. And now, you have two choices." She looked at him, waiting. "You can either let the shame destroy you," he said softly, "or you can rise above it and become too successful to ignore." Those words burned into her memory. From that day on, Olivia changed. She studied harder than anyone else. She joined the school coding club and within 3 weeks built a basic mobile app that helped students track assignments. Her teacher called it unreal for a JSS3 student. The principal called her into his office to personally congratulate her. But the students? They still whispered, still mocked her behind her back. "She's trying to impress her sugar, Grandpa." One girl laughed in the hallway. "You think she sleeps in his bed?" another said cruelly. The words cut deep, but Olivia never reacted. She just studied harder. She started waking up at 4:00 a.m. to watch free online coding tutorials. Chief Williams noticed and brought in a private tutoran, actual Google-certified developer, to teach her advanced programming on weekends. Meanwhile, back in Ageji, Monica and Jonathan were not doing as well as they expected. The car Chief Williams bought was already giving problems. Jonathan barely made enough from his taxi runs. Worse, people in the neighborhood had started talking. "They sold their daughter for money," one woman said at the market. "I heard she was crying during the wedding," another murmured. The shame clung to Monica like smoke. For the first time, she started to wonder, did I go too far? 2 years passed. Olivia, now 15, stood on a stage holding a national award for Young Tech Innovator of the Year. Her face beamed on the big screen behind her. Dressed in a fitted navy blue gown, with her hair packed in a neat bun, she spoke with confidence. "I'm dedicating this award to every girl who was ever told she's too young to dream, and to one man who saw my future before I could see it myself, Chief Williams." The crowd rose in applause. Chief Williams, seated in the front row, wiped a tear from his eyes. Backstage, as cameras flashed and journalists rushed forward, one quiet reporter leaned in and asked, "Is it true you were married at 13 to Chief Williams?" The question hung heavy in the air. Olivia took a breath. "No," she said clearly. "I was rescued at 13 by Chief Williams." And just like that, the story changed. But as her fame grew, so did the guilt eating at her parents. Monica hadn't heard from Olivia in almost a year. Every time she tried calling the house, the maid would politely say, "Miss Olivia is not available." Even Adana, the same friend who introduced Monica to Chief Williams, had stopped coming around. She too was ashamed. Then, one day, a brown envelope arrived at their doorstep. Inside was a glossy magazine, Forbes Africa Teens Edition. Olivia was on the cover, and below her smiling face were the words, "From child bride to software genius." How she survived and rose above the odds. Monica collapsed into the chair and burst into tears. Later that evening, Olivia's phone rang. It was an unknown number. She answered, and before she could say anything, a weak voice whispered, "Olivia, it's me, your father." There was silence. "Your mother and Iwe." "We're sorry," he said, his voice shaking. "We were desperate. We made a mistake, but we've never stopped thinking about you." Another pause. Then Olivia replied, her voice calm but distant. "I forgive you, Daddy, but I'm still healing." And then she ended the call. But that night, she couldn't sleep, because part of her heart was still that 13-year-old girl in a green gown, who once begged for someone to fight for her. Rain fell gently over Lekki, tapping against the glass windows like a soft warning. Olivia stood at the edge of her room's balcony, sipping a warm cup of tea. She was now 17, and the girl who once cried in silence had grown into a confident, articulate young woman. But despite all the awards, recognition, and success she had achieved, something inside her remained unsettled. It was the ache of betrayal, the ache of knowing her parents had chosen wealth over her childhood. And yet, as she stood watching the rain, her phone buzzed again. Another message. From them? "Olivia, please. We miss you. Just let us see you. One day. Please." She stared at the message for a long time, her heart torn between pain and pity. Chief Williams had never pressured her to forgive them. He always left the decision to her. "I'll wait," he had told her. "But when you're ready, you'll know." The next morning, Olivia surprised everyone. "Tell the driver to take me to Agege," she said calmly. The maid blinked. "You mean your parents' house?" Olivia nodded. "Yes, it's time." The drive to Agege felt longer than she remembered. The streets were familiar but different, now noisy, crowded, filled with echoes from her past. When the car pulled into the compound, Monica was already outside. Her face was pale, her wrapper loosely tied. Jonathan stood beside her, older than Olivia remembered, his hands trembling. As Olivia stepped out of the car, the air turned thick. She didn't run into their arms. She didn't smile. She just stood, waiting. Monica rushed forward, falling to her knees. "Olivia, my daughter," she cried, gripping the hem of her trousers. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive us." Jonathan knelt beside his wife, tears streaming down his cheeks. Olivia didn't say anything for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. "You didn't just marry me off. You abandoned me. You watched me cry. You ignored my voice. You gave me away like I was a goat in the market." Her voice was calm, but each word hit like thunder. Monica sobbed harder. "We didn't know what else to do. We were poor, desperate. We thought it would save us." "And did it?" Olivia asked. "Did it save you?" Neither of them answered. Then Jonathan raised his head. "It saved you." His words pierced the silence. "You became the girl we could never afford to raise," he said. "You became a star, a voice, a genius. And yes, it was selfish. But maybe it was how God planned it." Monica looked up, eyes swollen. "We were wrong, Olivia. So wrong. But we've never stopped loving you, not a single day." Olivia looked at them, really looked, and for the first time in years, she saw them not as monsters, but as broken people who made a terrible choice. "I've forgiven you," she said softly. "But I don't know if I can ever forget." Jonathan nodded slowly. "We understand." Then she turned and walked back into the car. But this time, she left the window down. This time, she waved. Back in Lecky, Chief Williams was waiting in the garden, pruning a rose bush. "How did it go?" he asked as she walked in. "I saw them," she said. He didn't push for more. She sat beside him and watched the breeze move through the trees. "I think I might talk to them again soon," she whispered. He smiled gently. "That's enough for now." Weeks passed. Olivia kept rising. She was invited to speak at international tech summits. She launched a startup that provided coding classes for girls in underserved areas. Her company Olitech made the news for its social impact. But one day, during a conference in Abuja, a new kind of twist began to unfold. She met someone. His name was George. A 26-year-old data analyst from Jos, soft-spoken and brilliant, with eyes that saw her for who she really was, not the headlines, not the story, but Olivia. They talked, and kept talking. By the third meeting, he asked if he could take her on a quiet date. She said yes. George didn't ask about her past. He didn't stare when people whispered around them. He listened. He laughed. He made her feel normal. And slowly, Olivia let him in. One night, she told Chief Williams everything. "His name is George. I like him." Chief smiled. "I was wondering when that would happen." Olivia laughed. "Do you think I'm ready for love?" Chief Williams looked at her with pride. "You've carried pain heavier than most adults. If anyone deserves to be happy, it's you." And so, the healing continued. But none of them knew that an unexpected letter was about to arrive that would shake Olivia again, just when she thought her story was finally at peace. The white envelope came on a calm Tuesday morning. It was delivered by hand, sealed in gold trim. Olivia sat at her kitchen counter, sipping orange juice, when the maid brought it to her. "What's this?" she asked, wiping her hands. "It was marked, urgent personal," the maid replied. Olivia opened it, slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter from Chief Williams. "My dear Olivia, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. Don't cry. I've lived a long, full life. I only ask for one thing now. Let me walk you down the aisle when that day comes. It would be my greatest honor, as your grandfather, your protector, your proudest believer. Love always, Chief Williams." Olivia couldn't hold back the tears, but fate had one last kindness left. Chief Williams hadn't passed yet. He had written the letter months ago, just in case, because he had seen her blossoming and wanted her to know his heart. And now, the day had come. Olivia stood in her bridal gown at 25, her life a testimony of resilience and grace. At the doors of the grand wedding hall, she held the arm of Chief Williams, now 87, still strong, still smiling. "You ready?" he asked, his voice steady. She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I wouldn't want anyone else walking me down that aisle." The doors opened, guests rose, and Olivia walked toward George, her love, her peace. As they passed the rows of chairs, Olivia caught sight of her parents. Monica and Jonathan sat quietly, dressed in simple but respectful attire. Their eyes met hers, no words, only tears. Forgiveness had done its slow work. At the altar, Chief Williams gently handed Olivia over to George. "I give you the treasure of my life," he said, before stepping back. And in that moment, the little girl in the green gown was finally gone. Olivia had become everything she once dreamed to be, and more. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.